MTex has fought for is about to collapse. One wrong decision, one trusted voice that turns out to be a lie, and the company could lose hundreds of millions overnight. Episode 8 doesn't just raise the stakes, it pushes every character to the edge, where loyalty, fear, and greed collide in ways no one is ready for. Episode 8 of Landman Season 2 opens with one brutal truth hanging over everyone at MTex. Time is almost gone. The company needs an impossible amount of money in an impossible amount of time. $400 million, 45 days, and the only way out is buried deep under the oil fields that now feel more like graves than opportunities. Every well they open drains more cash, every delay tightens the noose. The pressure is no longer just financial, it's emotional, personal, and terrifyingly real. Rebecca believes she has found the answer in Charlie, the confident geologist who speaks with calm certainty and numbers that sound convincing enough to stop panic. But his words carry a chilling message. According to him, the chances of success are barely 10%. He doesn't just question the wells, he questions the entire strategy. And when hope is already fragile, even a small doubt can become deadly. What makes this worse is how quickly Rebecca trusts him. This is not the Rebecca we know. She is careful, guarded, and driven by logic. Yet with Charlie, her walls fall fast, and that alone feels dangerous. While Rebecca leans in, the rest of MTex leans back in fear. If the wells fail, bankruptcy is not a possibility. It's a certainty. And bankruptcy means desperation. Desperation means borrowing money. And there is only one man powerful enough to provide that kind of lifeline. Galino, a man who never helps without taking something much bigger in return. The idea that MTex might be pushed into his hands is not an accident. It feels planned. Tommy senses it. He doesn't have proof yet, but instinct tells him something is wrong. Charlie's numbers don't sit right, and the timing feels too perfect. Every delay pushes MTex closer to Galino, closer to losing control of everything they built. Meanwhile, Cammy watches all of this with quiet fear. She sees the cracks forming, not just in the company, but in her relationship with Tommy. Trust starts to shake, and Galino is watching closely, waiting for that exact moment to strike. Episode 8 doesn't explode all at once. Instead, it tightens slowly, like a hand around the throat of MTex. Every conversation feels heavier, every decision feels final. And by the end of this section, one thing becomes painfully clear. The real danger isn't the oil underground, it's the people standing above it, smiling, calculating, and ready to take everything when MTex finally falls. When you're ready, I can continue with Section 2, keeping the same tone, tension, and depth. Episode 8 moves forward. The real battle begins. Not in the oil fields, but inside the minds of the people running MTex. Charlie's words start echoing everywhere. 10%, risky, irrational, not worth it. What sounds like professional caution slowly turns into a narrative of fear. Rebecca repeats his concerns in meetings, and without realizing it, she becomes the messenger of doubt. The more she speaks, the more confidence drains from the room. Cammy feels it first. She has always believed in pushing forward, even when things look impossible. But now, hearing the same warning again and again, she starts to panic. The pressure of Monty's legacy, the debt, and the responsibility crushing her shoulders becomes unbearable. When fear replaces hope, survival becomes the only goal. And that is exactly the mindset Galino wants her in. Tommy, however, starts pulling in the opposite direction. The more everyone accepts Charlie's numbers, the more Tommy questions them. He knows oil, he knows the land, and he knows that certainty is rare in this business. Charlie's confidence feels rehearsed, too clean, too convenient. So Tommy considers doing something dangerous, challenging the narrative before it becomes truth. He thinks about bringing in other geologists, other opinions, even though that costs time they don't have. But what's worse? Wasting time or trusting the wrong person. Meanwhile, Galino steps closer, slowly and carefully. He doesn't rush. He watches the tension grow between Tommy and Cammy, feeding on it. He reminds Tommy, subtly but cruelly, that from the outside, Cammy's doubt is visible, and visible weakness attracts predators. Galino doesn't hide what he is. He almost enjoys explaining it. Every word is a warning and a threat wrapped into one. Rebecca, caught between logic and emotion, doesn't see the trap forming. Her trust in Charlie deepens, and that trust gives him power. Power to influence decisions, power to slow things down, power to push MTex closer to the edge while pretending to protect it. And the most dangerous part is that no one can openly accuse him without proof. Not yet. By the end of this section, the company is divided. Not loudly, not openly, but internally. Fear whispers where confidence used to speak. Trust, once a strength, becomes a weapon turned inward. And somewhere in the background, Galino waits patiently, knowing that the moment MTex stops believing in itself, he will move. Episode 8 takes a darker turn when Galino finally steps out of the shadows and into the center of the storm. Up until now, he has been patient, almost polite. But patience has limits, and Galino knows the perfect moment to apply pressure. He doesn't need to threaten. He doesn't need to shout. All he has to do is tell the truth in a way that breaks people. He approaches Cammy when she is already emotionally exhausted. He talks about the numbers, the debt, the shrinking chances. And then he says the words she fears the most, that the oil wells may never save MTex. Not with odds this low, not with time running out. He presents himself as the only logical solution. A partner, a lender, a savior. But every sentence carries an unspoken message. Without me, you lose everything. This is when Cammy finally pushes back. For the first time, we see her anger explode toward Galino. She challenges his tone, his confidence, and his right to speak about Monty's legacy. Her words are sharp, emotional, and fearless. It surprises Galino, not because he feels guilt, but because resistance was not part of his plan. Still, he doesn't back down. He smiles, knowing anger often comes right before surrender. While this confrontation unfolds, Tommy continues digging. He starts consulting other experts quietly, keeping it away from Rebecca and Charlie. What he hears changes everything. The wells are risky, yes, but not hopeless. The numbers Charlie gave are exaggerated, twisted, and suddenly, a terrifying possibility becomes real. Charlie isn't just wrong, he may be lying. Tommy begins connecting the dots. Charlie arrives at the perfect time. His advice pushes MTex toward failure. Failure pushes them toward Galino, and Galino benefits from every step. It's not just manipulation, it's strategy. A slow takeover designed to look like rescue. Galino, sensing resistance from Cammy and possible exposure from Tommy, prepares to escalate. If words don't work, pressure will. Contracts, legal traps, delayed approvals, even sabotage, everything becomes an option. His goal is no longer just control, it's domination. By the end of this section, the war lines are drawn. Cammy is no longer silent. Tommy is no longer unsure. And Galino is no longer pretending. Episode 8 shifts from quiet tension to open conflict, where every move has consequences and every mistake could cost MTex its future. As Episode 8 moves closer to its final act, the pressure inside MTex reaches a breaking point. What once felt like a unified fight for survival now feels like a room full of people holding their breath, afraid to speak, afraid to trust. The fear Galino planted has taken root, and even the strongest minds begin to question themselves. Every delay feels fatal. Every decision feels like a gamble with no safe outcome. Cammy, caught between them, feels torn apart. She trusts Tommy's instincts, but the weight of responsibility is crushing her. Monty's name, Monty's debts, Monty's legacy, it all sits on her chest like a stone. When Galino circles back, offering money with clearer terms and firmer control, the temptation becomes dangerous. Not because she wants power, but because she wants the pain to stop. And Galino knows that exhaustion is more powerful than fear. Meanwhile, Galino starts tightening his grip in quieter ways. Contracts suddenly become stricter. Legal clauses appear where none existed before. Small obstacles turn into massive delays. Nothing is obvious enough to prove sabotage, yet everything feels designed to slow MTex down just enough to force their hand. The message is clear. Fight me, and I make this harder. Accept me, and it all goes away.